Hey everybody, it is Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and I'm out here in the garage, hopefully going to do the fourth part in my Mk12 Mod 1 build. And today we're going to be working on the lower receiver. Now, in order for this to be what I think is as clone correct as possible, I mean, nothing can ever be truly clone correct, because the original lower receivers were originally M16A1s. And then later in the Mod 1s, when they ran out of those, they started using A2 lowers. Of course, they also had the ability to fire in full auto, but I can't get that, okay? So I know many of the people that I jokingly refer to as clone clowns, that's not right, you're not full auto. It's like, okay, within reason, okay? So I know a lot of people, when they clone these things out, they try to go with certain companies that have the right profile or can kind of put on close to the right markings. They legally can't put on Colt markings if it's not made by Colt. They have to be a certain percentage off when it comes to the design, or they kind of look like what they're supposed to. But anyway, I decided, because I have an all Colt upper receiver, Colt bolt carrier, and the military would have used Colts, I found one of the I guess newer production Colt M4A1 carbines that is property marked. So our U.S. government property mark. So I'm covering up the serial number there. I don't know if I can show you there, but that's going to come across. Yeah, but it is U.S. property, or U.S. government property marks. That's kind of what they used. And it is an A2 style profile, which is like the modern AR-15 profile. So that's about as good as I'm going to get. So it's an actual Colt with that property mark, and it's just what I can do. So what I want to do to this lower receiver, and oh, by the way, one of the reasons too I bought it is it already came with the ambi control from Schmidt Tool, so that came stock on it. But this is not in the configuration that I want it to be in. Now the Mod 1s had a number of different stock options. You had the A1 stocks, you had A2 stocks, you had the SOP mod stocks, like the Crane SOP mod or B5 Industries or LMT, and you also had a stock that they made from Ace. And I like the look, and when I look online for what appears to be most of the Mod 1s that were used by the Navy SEALs and SOCOM, they all appear to have either A1 or A2 stock. So that's what I wanted to go with. So we're going to get rid of the buffer tube and this telescoping stock. And I purchased one from, I think it's JSE Surplus. So this is a U.S. military surplus A2 stock. And it has kind of the right color. It's all black. It looks pretty good. It came, as I said, it's brand new. So I got a new buffer spring. And it has the rifle buffer. And it should have the, if I pull this out here, oh yeah, I got to take off the screw here in the back. It should also have the spacer. So let me see if that's enough to get this off. Nope. So they use the same buffer tube on the A1 and the A2 stocks, but the A2 stocks are longer, so they had to add a spacer in here. So here is the buffer tube, and the spacer is right there. So that's what I want to put on this thing. So what I'm going to have to do is get my Dremel tool, which I already have out, and I have to cut the staking on the castle nut. Now, some people claim you can just take a castle nut wrench, and if you put this into a lower receiver vise, you could just break it off with enough pressure. I don't like to do that. I've tried that before on another AR, and I could not break the stakes. And of course, I don't want to damage the lower at all. So what I do is I take a Dremel tool, and essentially I go right over the staking, and I just kind of just cut into it just a little bit. Of course, be very careful you don't get anywhere near the receiver. And so what I will do is tape off the aluminum part up here, and it helps visually let me see the difference of what I'm trying to cut, so I won't make that mistake. So in order for me to do this, I will need an AR-15 vice block and some safety goggles, so I'll go ahead and put those on. A Dremel tool with just a basic cutting wheel on it, and I will need a castle nut wrench. Now, one of the things about castle nut wrenches too is I have found that I have bought a number of these, and many times, I don't know if they're just not in spec or the castle nuts for mini ARs or just have a lot of variation in them. I had to file the teeth down on this one to make sure they always go into every castle nut. So that's what I had to do. I had to modify this one. This is just a Tapco one, but I have other ones here on my workbench, and they never seem to really get into the castle nut like it's supposed to. So I had to modify one to make it work. So let me go ahead and take the stock off this lower. Set that aside. So we got to get that buffer tube out. So let me take out the recoil, not the recoil spring, the action spring and the buffer. There we go. All right, so there's the buffer and the buffer spring. Put that aside. Make sure there's nothing else there going on. Let me tape up this lower real fast. As I said, this doesn't really protect it because if I hit the tape with the cutting tool and go right through it, it just helps me visualize where the receivers are, because the castle nut's black, the receiver's black. I can just visually see what I'm cutting into a little bit better. You know, better safe than sorry, I guess. You know, and it doesn't take much to get the staking out. So I'll go ahead and which way does this thing go? It goes this way, I think, yeah. All right. Ugh. There we go. Okay, so it's in my vise block. All right, so all I gotta do is Dremel into those little stakings, and then I can take this thing off. So let's be careful here, take our time, and let's do that. Got one, and I'll turn it around and get the other one. Now, if I did that right, this castle nut should come right off. I think it's down in there. All right, so, all right. So hopefully it will come off. Let's see. Nope. Maybe I gotta drill into that one a little bit more. Nope. So let me do the other one as well, a little bit deeper. They did a really good job of staking these castle nuts on. Sometimes they don't do them very deep, but these are pretty deep. That thing is on there good. Well, I can go deeper. It's not like I got to worry about saving the part or anything. Because the only thing I'm damaging is the castle nut and the back plate, which, you know, I wouldn't reuse anyway. I should be able to save the buffer tube. Yeah, I might need to still go a little bit more on it. They did stake that thing deep. I can still see where there's still some metal in there. All right. Well, here we go again. Oh, man. Woo. Okay. Wow. Well, this is the fun of it. I've never had one stick on this this much. So, all right. Yeah, that is definitely through that staking now. All right. Let's try it again. Should be getting close. Ah, there we go. We got it. Staking was just deep. All right. So, we get the tape off. Pull the plate back. Let's see here. I might need to get a little screwdriver. There we go. All right, there we go. And of course, my parts fell off. I didn't think I could turn it that much, but they did. All right, so there goes the spring. Gotta love it. Take out the spring. And what do we got here? I got the detent for the buffer tube and the detent buffer tube spring. All right, so there is the buffer tube, and that is off. And it looks like the takedown. Now this was not me, guys. It looks like whoever installed this screwed up because the takedown pin spring is bent. And that happens sometimes when you're putting those things on. If you're not careful, it gets caught behind the plate when you're putting it in, and it bends the crap out of them. I actually think I have some extras in here. If I don't have them, I'm going to have to order them. So let me see here. I have a toolbox full of just AR parts that I keep around for just this occasion. And sometimes when I buy parts for builds, I'll buy 2 or 3 of things because I know these small parts break. So let's see. Let's see if I'm lucky tonight. If not, I got to go to Brownell's. Well, maybe I can go to a local shop. Maybe Rifle Gear in the Colony will have them. Let's see. See, I got gas tubes. I mark everything where it comes from. Roll pins. Hammers. Barrel nuts. What is that? Nope, that's a roll pin. More roll pins. That's a sling swivel rivet. All right, let's see here. Colt parts. Let's see what I have in here. All right, got roll pins. Bolt catches with springs, but unfortunately they're not the same size. What else? I could have sworn I bought a few of these in the past, but maybe I have used them all in previous builds. So I am probably going to have to go down to my local gun shop and pick one up. And I think I am done for the night because that spring has to be replaced. Rear sight. Man, you gotta love this, huh? Oh man, I thought I had one. So you can see all these little packages of Brownell stuff. So that is just a small part everybody should have. And I think I'm done with this for the night. So no spring. And I believe it's the same spring that the detent for the front one is as well. So I think it's the same exact part. They use the same spring for both. As I said, it's a common part. So my local gun store should have it. But I will check as soon as I get done here. Sorry, guys. I actually thought I'd be able to do this tonight, but apparently I won't. I can check one more place that I may have, but I seriously doubt it. That's where I keep all my AR parts. I got another bag of AR parts, AK parts. Well, I keep telling myself I do. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep searching for this spring. If I happen to have the spring, I will resume the video and put on the stock. If I do not have the spring, I will go to my local gun shop, pick up one, and we will resume the video with the new spring. So, as soon as I push this button, you're going to find out what happens. So, I'll see you with whatever result I come back with. Alright, so I'm back, and I was not able to find the spring. So, I am going to go to Rifle Gear tomorrow and pick up one. I've already checked their website. They got a whole bunch in stock. It's $1.29. So, I'll probably pick up 4 or 5 of those just to kind of restock my small parts bin. But I am a little bit disappointed. I know how this happens when you are building ARs and you have to put on that end plate. It rotates with the buffer tube on a carbine. On these stocks, you don't have to worry about that because you install the buffer tube and then you can put the stock on directly, and it doesn't require you to compress that spring and hold it in place while you twist it on. And I have messed up these springs in the past. Like, right, you can see how it's, see if I can get in focus there. See how that spring is like, a couple of the coils are bent? I have done that on installation, and that's how you do it. You put it in there and you rotate it. You don't, realize, oh no, it got caught behind that end plate. As you're rotating it, it strips it. And so whoever assembled this lower, thinking nobody would ever disassemble it, just kind of shoved it in there. Now it would work, and I could cut that couple springs off, but that means that detent wouldn't be under the proper tension. So I don't want that. It's totally worth being patient and waiting to spend 15 minutes in line and $1.29 to get the right part. So this is a little bit sad. He or she, whoever assembled this, should have taken the time, and when they realized they bent the spring, to pull out the spring and put in another one, and they chose not to do that. Okay, so yeah, not good, Colt, not good. So I will get that fixed tomorrow. However, there is something else we can do tonight before I can put on the stock tomorrow. Is I do need to put in the Geissele Super Semi-Automatic Enhanced Trigger. Now, the one that was used in the actual Mark 12 was essentially the Geissele fully automatic enhanced trigger. So it has polished surfaces designed for more precision shooting. And but of course it had a full auto option. This gun doesn't have full auto, and so this is the semi-automatic version of that. And this particular model even says SOP Mod certified. So yeah, this is the closest you can get. Now in the Mod Zeros, the early ones, they used the Knight's Armament 2-stage trigger, and I hear that they had problems with those. Either negligent discharges, or either they were too light or something, and later they went to the Geissele ones. And this is, as I said, the civilian semi-automatic version. So I'm going to take out the trigger group, which is in here, which is, of course, marked. Let's see, normally they're marked as Schmidt tool. This one's marked with a G, has a different casting on it. And something that's interesting, and I've talked about this in a previous video, because people say that Colt currently sources their parts from different places. They use Schmidt tool for a long time, but the profile of the hammer is a little bit different. A lot of the original Colts had like a little ledge right up here, and some people had referred to this as the CMMG style. I don't know why, but essentially this is the same front profile as a full auto hammer. The only thing it's lacking is the little hook on the back. But I prefer this profile because it is less likely to catch up on the bolt. But anyway, yeah, it's marked with a G, so I'm not really sure what that casting is. So we're just going to replace this trigger. I can do that now and tonight because I got all the parts and I can do it. And then tomorrow I'll come back to you when I put that new spring in, and then of course get the stock on, and then the lower receiver is complete. It's kind of funny because in the eyes of the law and in U.S. regulation, this is the gun right here. But this is actually the part of this Mark 12 build that's the easiest to do, and all the parts are super available. I think I'm going to sneeze here in a second. Oh, excuse me. All right. So I've installed these many times, and Geissele makes some of the best triggers out there that just drop right in with no problem. So everything comes already kind of put together. Got the pins, all that. So let's first take out the old trigger group here, and we'll take out the hammer first. And when you use these pins or these punches, just be a little careful. These should come out relatively easy. All right. And there's the hammer. And the pin is right there. And then next we got to get out the trigger and the disconnector. And sometimes you can just push these out when the hammer is out. Yep, I can. And pull that pin out. You have the disconnector, and you have the trigger and the trigger spring. So there we go. Go ahead and clean out that cavity in there. And then we will install this. And I know it comes with this little lubricant. I think you just put it on the sear surfaces. Let me just double check that. Face the connector. Yeah, apply a small amount of lubricant. Hammer and trigger sears. Face of the disconnector. Hammer tail, where it comes in contact with the disconnector, and top of each side of the hammer spring where the spring contacts the receiver wall. Okay, usual places. All right, so the first thing we got to do is put in this, the trigger itself. Now, they do give you a pin to push it out, so you don't have to take any of this apart. You should be able to, if I remember correctly, hold on. No, I know what I gotta do. I gotta put this in first. I think that was it. Yeah, I put this in first. I don't think I have to take it apart. I should be able to kind of insert it. There we go. All right, there we go. So here's the actual pin. And so that pin is shorter. So now everything is put together. And I can simply just drop it into the lower, and it should fit. All right, there we go. And is it behind the safety selector? Yes. Actually, I think I'm going to luck out on this one, because sometimes I can put it underneath the safety selector, and sometimes you have to take it out. This time, I do not have to take it out. So I was able to get it under. So that's going to save me a little bit of time. So then all I got to do is line up that pin. And it should punch out. There we go. And there it is. Trigger's in there. Safety selector works like it should. Beautiful. That's awesome. All right. Next up, we have the hammer. Where is it? Here it is. All right. So I got to make sure I do this the right way. There's the spring going the right way. Let's go ahead and take out the pin in the center there. And of course, it wants to give me a little bit of trouble, like always. It's never easy. You know, I know a couple people watched my previous videos on this build, and I believe one of them is my good friend Craig. I like Craig a lot. He's awesome. He helps me out on some stuff, and he said, man, that was painful. And I was like, why is that painful? Or that video. He says, it's so boring. And I said, no, it's okay. I said, you don't have to watch. And he watches all my stuff. And so I don't think he's watching this one, because I think it bored him to hell. So, all right, got that out. And so now I should be able to put this hammer in and get this pin started. Hammer is always the hardest part of the trigger mechanism to put in. All right. Make sure those springs go on top of the disconnector and touching the wall. All right. I may have to put this in my vise to get this done because I need an extra hand. So, in the vise it goes. All right. All right. And there it goes. All right, let's get this thing off the vise block. All right. So now let's check for function here. So, all right, disconnector. And the sear is working, it looks like. All right. All right, there's the disconnector. Sear. And it can go into safe. I shouldn't have done that. All right. Thought I had my finger there to stop the hammer, and apparently I did not. But I think we're okay. You've got to be careful when you do that. So that was a little mistake on my part. All right, so got on safe. We're good. And fire. All right, we are good. We got that Geissele super semi-automatic trigger in there, and that is going to be perfect. So when I do get that other spring, well, you guys can see what this thing is going to look like. Pretty standard. And then I guess I should go ahead and put on this lubricant now while I have everything apart. Ugh. Here we go. All right. Disconnector surfaces, hammer, and then down where the spring meets the receiver. Dab of oil there. And that was hard to get to. Come on. All right, well, I think we got it. All right, good. We wipe off the excess oil, and there it is. So we have the Geissele Super Semi-Automatic Enhanced trigger in this lower receiver, and I just need to get that one spring, and then I can put this together, and then I think I got a lot of my Mk12 Mod 1 done. So, when I return, hopefully tomorrow, well, you're going to see it in just 2 seconds, we're going to put this stock on. So, let me fast forward a day in the future, and let me get that spring. All right, so it is the next day, and I went down to Rifle Gear in the Colony, and I was able to pick up 3 new detent springs. So, bought a couple extra just to make sure I have some for my parts bin. And so I'll take one of these, and that's the one we're going to use. So we have that bent one. And yeah, it's the right size and everything. So now we can put this last piece together here. So we're going to put on the buffer tube, and then put on the stock, and I think this lower receiver pretty much is done. So let's put the lower back on the old vise block here. Man, this is a tight vise block. Let's see here. All right, that'll work. Okay, so we got our buffer tube, and you're going to need to put it on with a 5/8 wrench. I've seen some people actually just hand tighten this, but I don't know. I'm also going to put on one little tiny drop of blue Loctite on the threads here, just to make sure it doesn't come out. I've never had a problem with a buffer tube coming out on a A1 or A2, but I just put a little bit on it, and I think we should be good. All right, so let me start that buffer tube. And of course, the blue Loctite is removable. It's not even that much of a thread locker. Where's my other parts? All right, so we got to put in the buffer detent and spring. All right, so buffer detent and spring. Let's go ahead and twist this thing on as far as it goes. Yep, everything is working like it should. And then we'll go ahead, tighten it down, and we should be good. There we go. Okay, next thing we got to do is put in the takedown pin. Why would I put it in that way? All right, there's that. And put in the detent. And now the part that I had to buy today, which would I put it right here? The spring goes in there. And let me rotate this thing to make sure it's correct. Everything is lined up. And we are good. All right, so then we gotta make sure our spacer is in here, going the right way. Drop the spacer in the stock. Put that on. And now as it goes up against that spring, make sure that it compresses evenly. And then we have the screw for the back. And there we go. Before I tighten everything down, just want to make sure everything looks right, like it should. I think we're good. All right. Let me tighten that down. And check everything. And I think we are good. There we go. All right. So the stock is on with the U.S. government property roll mark lower. So now all I should have to do is put in the buffer spring and the buffer. And let me put it down. There we go. All right, we got the lower receiver of my Mk12 Mod 1 done. So I decided to go with the A2 stock. Got a Colt government property marked lower. Geissele Super Semi-Automatic Enhanced. And there we go. So that is, I don't know, what is this, part 4, I think? So I think I got pretty much everything done. So the next thing I'll do is just putting the final touches on it and showing you the complete kit. So that will be a future video, and it should come out pretty soon. So I hope you guys are enjoying this and kind of laugh along with the trials and tribulations that I have to go through. No build for me ever goes perfect. It never does. I always break something, lose something. A detent flies off somewhere in the garage and I lose it. I don't have the parts to complete it. Something doesn't fit like it's supposed to. That's just the way it works. So anyway, thanks for going on this journey with me, and I really do appreciate it. I've learned a lot from you guys, and I appreciate your input and help on all this. So let me know what you think. So as always, thanks for watching.